These are mung beans. These are one of the easiest plants in your garden that you can grow. You're almost always going to get a harvest out of these. They're small, they're great for sprouts, they're great for saving for the wintertime where you can sprout them and put them on salads, or they go great with Asian food. But this is something that you can easily plant and you're almost sure to get a harvest from. It's a great way to have something in your garden that you know is going to succeed, and it's going to build confidence in your green thumb, the mung bean. Hey guys, welcome to the Homestead. So I hope you guys are out there busy working on your gardens and growing food, because it's like printing your own money. I say it over and over again. When you push preparedness to its logical conclusion, you will always end up on a homestead. So I hope you're doing that today. Hey, listen, do you know what the biggest black market item was during World War II? If you don't, stay tuned, because we're going to talk about that. I'm going to mention it at the end of this video. But first, I want to go over to this article over at Zero Hedge, because one of the comments that I see an awful lot in my videos below or in the inbox and the emails and things like that is, Zach, what are we going to do? Like, what if they really start cutting us off, to our money? How are we going to be able to, buy and sell? And oftentimes it goes back to that verse that we know in the Bible about being able to buy and sell, or not being able to buy and sell. And I want to give you a little bit of comfort today. I understand all of that, but understand something that has always existed throughout history, and that is black markets. Let's go read this article over at Zero Hedge. ZeroHedge.com, United Nations planning digital ID linked to bank accounts. This came out Tuesday, and it says United Nations is planning to introduce a global digital ID system that is linked to individuals' bank accounts. What could go wrong? The plan, which is similar to the system developed by the World Economic Forum, is outlined in 3 new policy briefs from the United Nations titled A Global Digital Compact, Reforms to the International Financial Architecture, and the Future of Outer Space Governance. Outer space? What in the... The goal of the briefs is to advance the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' vision of the future. Officially titled Our Common Agenda, Guterres' vision should be given the green light in September of 2024 during an event dubbed the Summit for the Future. Sounds so fantastic. Continuing on, it says, from the report, digital IDs linked with bank or mobile money accounts can improve the delivery of social protection coverage and serve to better reach eligible, by the way, you're not eligible beneficiaries. Digital technologies may help to reduce leakage, errors, and cost in the design of social protection programs. Leakage in social protection programs? Now get this. It would be governed by something called the apex body that is yet to be set up. The key actors here would be the UN chief, as well as the Group of 20, the Economic and Social Council, and heads of international financial institutions. Within this, the UN sees visions of a global digital compact. Yeah, I bet they're seeing visions. Who's given them these visions? Essentially, the objective is to have people, devices, and entities all tied up in a connected network that could apparently be centrally administered. Centrally administered means controlled. And not by you. Centrally administered, seemingly by unelected bureaucrats. When those planning this future scheme worry about any negative impact, they never see it as potentially affecting everyone, but only civil society or selected groups excluded from social benefits. Yeah, there may be a negative impact here or there, but it's only on those groups that are excluded from, social society. Those certain people who believe those weird things like, climate change is a scam and who won't get those clot shots. And, those people who worship that weird Hebrew God, those people in civil society, they will be excluded from social benefits. But everyone else, we're okay. You people who own guns out there, you people who eat too much red meat, you'll be excluded from certain aspects of civil society, and that may be a negative impact, but it's only a small negative impact. And they'll eventually go away and take care of themselves. And that problem will take care of themselves. Anyway, so this came out, and just reading these articles, it's obvious to see this is coming. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This stuff is going to happen. They're pushing this agenda. The good news is, because this is enough to get you worked up. This is enough to make you stress out a little. I'm here to tell you that it's good to be aware and understand what's happening. However, when you look back throughout history in times of economic turmoil and upheaval, black markets have always existed. There will be barter and trade with people. There are always people who want one thing, and the more control you get, the harder it is to get things, even in a society where you are included in all these benefits. So controlled governments, controlled societies that are super heavily controlled, people, everyone suffers basically equally. So if you have the ability to produce things or have a way to create things that are wanted or desired in a black market scenario, you will be able to still survive and get what you need, okay? Despite whatever controls the government brings upon you. Things that have been the most desired in black markets throughout history. Let's go through some of them. Number one, booze. Do you know how to make booze? Distilled alcohol. It's something that people have been doing for thousands of years. Okay, thousands of years. It's basically taking sugar water, something sweet, boiling it, condensing the steam back into a liquid, and boom, there you go. It's the simplest technology of simplest technologies. And it's something that is always, in governments, has always, most of the time, been highly regulated. Why? Because it's something that is absolutely desired by a lot of people, medicinally or otherwise. Okay, ammo, firearms. There are things called precious metals, and that includes copper, brass, and lead. You know, and people are like, I would never barter and trade my firearm or ammunition. Okay, well, when it comes down to it where little Johnny has a fever and that little fever can be helped by just a simple Tylenol or something else that someone else has over there, a plant medicine or a tincture or something like that, and you know they've got it, but they really would like a trade for a couple of, 22 shells. Are you going to do it? Absolutely, you're going to do it. It's good to have ammo and firearms and have those for the purpose, possibly, of barter and trade. Don't ever say never. Okay, drugs, meds, and books. I have a number of books that are medicinally related, sometimes naturally creating tinctures, that have that focus on those books. I know I have the ability to make my own meds and tinctures. I know how to use certain plants around my homestead, learn how to use those things and have references on hand so you can trade and barter with knowledge. I'm not saying you have to trade and barter that book, but the information in that book, people may come to you and say, Zach, how can I do this? Or how can I do that? And you have the knowledge, and that is valuable. It's worthy of barter and trade. The biggest black market item of World War II was meat. Absolutely meat. Cattle rustling was at an all-time high during World War II. Did you know that? Look it up. It was amazing, the lengths that people would go to get meat, because all the meat was being basically processed and sent overseas to the troops. And so red meat especially, you could not get it in America unless you were rich or unless you knew somebody, or unless you had your own and you grew your own and you raised your own. You could get it then. So having the ability to have a few head of cattle, even if it's a couple, or even a few sheep or a few goats, you have that ability to make and butcher red meat. And the other thing is too, butchering. Butchering has always been in high demand. No matter, all throughout history, if you have the knowledge to be able to butcher an animal, people will always come to you and barter and trade that ability to be able to get their meat. They have a couple animals, but you know what? They don't really have the tools or the knowledge to take apart that animal. That's why I have always advised people, this is a great opportunity to better your skill set, to develop something, the knowledge that you can use later in the future when times get tough, because people who know how to take apart animals and do so efficiently and then be able to do that for a service, you will always have money, you will always have food, you will always be in demand, always. Gasoline, being able to distill, again, the alcohol or create diesel. There was that guy I mentioned, happened in Sarajevo in the Bosnian War. He always had a little bit of diesel on hand, it seemed like. Where was he getting that? He was basically tapping trees in the back and his backyard, and he was making turpentine, which ran in diesel engines back there, because diesel engines back in the 90s were all simple, and almost all vehicles were diesel back then. Even small cars were diesel engines over in Eastern Europe. If you've ever been to Eastern Europe, you'll be surprised to know. I mean, you'll know most vehicles over there are diesel, at least used to be. And so he always had a little bit on hand because he was making it himself. And he was using that to barter and trade for things he needed for his family. And after the war, people say, hey, where'd you always had a little bit of diesel on hand. Where'd you get it? I was making it. Other things that have been definitely desirable throughout history, you might be surprised about when it comes to barter and trade, are watches. Watches, have always been something that has been a barterable item throughout history. I was surprised to see that on the list, but it was high up on the list. Clothes, even back in Bible times, were referred to often in Scripture as money because it took time and effort to get the materials, harvest the materials, and then put that into a form where you could wear it as clothes. And we're so spoiled rotten by all these sweatshops and stuff that comes from China and all these other places where child labor is used or cheap labor is used to put together these things that all throughout humanity have been very, very valuable. And today you can buy a shirt at Walmart for like $5, Cigarettes, being able to grow tobacco. I've driven through Tennessee and Kentucky, and I've seen lots of tobacco farms out there. And if you have the ability to grow tobacco and set some aside and dry it and you get that into a form where it can be used, you can always use that for barter and trade. Candy, being able to make candy and not, storing candy is one thing, but being able to make it on your own, being able to grow the sugar beets, to be able to grow the sorghum, the sugar cane, or something that you can use in the sweets. People love sweets. And if you have the ability to grow something that you can turn into candy, that is absolutely, has always been a barterable item. And then hardware and parts, tools, spare things, spare parts, things you might need, things you might be able to take to a flea market and be able to barter and trade with people here and there once a community gets together and they see how they can help and do things and trade things. Spare parts and tools will always be a highly tradable commodity. I hope I've given you some things to think about. And I hope I've alleviated maybe some of the stress that is going around because of articles like this that's being published on Zero Hedge, where they're basically telling you that in your future, you're going to have a digital ID and we're going to implement the ability to exclude you from society and being able to participate. We all know this is coming. Okay, we know it's coming. In fact, the book says it's coming. So, what can you do about it? You can always understand that there are things that you can do outside the box, outside the system, that will always allow you to provide for you and your family. If you have the intestinal fortitude to rise up, take action, and do something about it. It doesn't mean being lazy. It means eventually stop watching these YouTube videos and go out and grow your animals. Go out and grow a garden. Go out and learn how to make candy. Things like that. Learn how to do something. Learn by doing. Get the experience under your belt so that you can use that experience to the benefit of you and your family. All right, guys, leave a comment below. If I forgot something, if there's something else that hey, this would be a great item. This would be a great item. This would be a great skill. This would be a great product. Put it in the comments below because your comment may help someone else think of something that they have the ability to explore that option further and then benefit their family. You can help others. So leave a comment below on something you may have thought about or you may be doing that you want to share, and then, again, help the community. Also, check out our merchandise, teespring.com, our best-selling shirt, Stupid Should Hurt. If we had more hurt in this world, there'll be an awful lot less stupid because the world right now is full of stupid, and as a result, is full of hurt. So buy our shirt. It's teespring.com. Links in the description below. All right, guys. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye. Alexander the Great. Did you know when he died, his body was placed in a coffin made of solid gold? Decades later, Ptolemy X and Cleopatra III stole the coffin and gold artifacts just so they could pay their war debts. Germany, at the time of World War II, stole all of the gold they could get their hands on, and much of it still today has not yet been accounted for. You see, all throughout history, when times get tough, people, either good or bad, seek real wealth. They turn to gold and silver. The central banks and Wall Street cheerleaders would have you believe that gold and silver are just shiny rocks with no real value. But did you know that central banks around the world have for the last year been buying record amounts of gold and silver for stockpiling? Stockpiling for what? What do they know that they're not telling us? Genesis Gold Group is a proud supporter of an American homestead. They help people get out of locked-in 401ks and IRAs into something that's real, physical gold and silver. If you're going to be locked into something, it might be a good idea to talk to Genesis Gold Group about being locked into something physically vaulted instead of just a piece of paper that at the end of the day is just that, a piece of paper. It's a clear surety that our economy is headed for turbulent waters. The nation is currently over $31 trillion in debt, and Congress keeps spending money and the Fed keeps printing it. That does not bode well for anyone keeping and saving money in savings accounts or paper-denominated assets. Call Genesis Gold Group today, this instant, or visit them online at genesisgoldgroup.com. They can put together a strategy that's right for you. And be sure to say that you heard about them from an American Homestead.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.